Anybody out there?
Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
This is pretty cool. We got quite a few people, looks like.
I know it. It's like the perfect way to have a relationship, too, man. You just talk and you can't hear them talk back. They just talk at
you. Well, anyway, whoever's out there, it's good to see everybody. Although we can't see you, we can see your fingers typing. We're here on a Chevy and Outdoor Hub chat. We're going to be here for about an hour answering different kinds of questions and I guess just sharing brotherhoodness, right?
And you know what? The unique thing about this is the inaugural, meaning no matter how many more people do this, and even if they kick us off after this one, they can never take it away. This is the first one.
That's right. Hopefully we're here to stay. So
I know it.
We've been having a really good season so far. We've been all over the country from the Midwest and West and East, and we've just had a great season so far. We just got back from a really cool trip to New Mexico, the Navajo Indian Reservation there. 17 million acres of awesomeness, and we had a great trip, didn't we?
We did, actually. 17 million acres. I know that's a lot, and that's the size of West Virginia. It actually covers 4 states. It covers Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. And don't you know, just in true typical redneck fashion, me and Nick end up killing our deer right on the fence line.
Yeah, it was a great trip, and we both killed really good deer. Travis killed a 28-inch 3x4 that's in the 160s, and I shot a 183-inch 4x4 with real big brow tines, a lot of mass, and we just had a great trip. This is our 4th year hunting out there, and over the years we've killed Jim Schiefelbein, our operating officer at Bone Collector. He shot the first year we went, he shot a 187 typical. The next year I shot a 180 typical. Edwin Waddell killed a 197 typical last year, and then the 2 bucks that T-Bone and I shot this year. So it was a really great trip. In fact, let's get these. Go ahead, keep rolling.
Yeah.
We'll show these off since
we just happen to have the racks in the box that we're actually as proud of the box that we made to ship the racks back in. And we didn't ship it back, actually. What we did is we made this and carried it on the plane. Well, not carried it on the plane, but put it on the belly of the plane.
It's like Christmas, actually. You don't even open it.
And you're going to see that this is actually a rare species of mule deer. This is what they call the yellow-tip mule deer, and it's indigenous to the Navajo Nation, and it's a yellow-tip, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably never even have heard of it. But yeah, it's pretty neat. You can't wait.
All right, so here's
see the yellow tips.
This is T-Bone's buck here. Beautiful 3x4, 28 inches wide. And this is the one I got right here.
Big one.
Nice forks.
Over 180.
A lot of mass. So we had a good trip down there to the Navajo.
Killed it on the first day, too.
Yeah, which is pretty rare. That doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
I'll take it when I can get it. Most guys don't like to shoot on the first day, but not this guy.
No, not me. I don't mind it at all, because that means Cheetos and watching a lot of football then.
So what do you think? Should we get going on some of these questions?
Yeah, and actually, to be honest, we're real thankful for you guys and all the support of Chevy Outdoor Hub and then everything that we have going on at bonecollector.com. We got a ton of pre-questions here. We got pages and pages of that, and then plus all the people that's tuned in. So I think we're going to have a good hour, and hopefully that if we don't shed a little knowledge or a little light on some of your questions, and we just BS our way right through it. How about that?
We're good at that. We both have BS degrees, so.
Yep, mine's a 2-year. His is a 4-year degree.
Funny story before we get started. Last week I was down here, and I was actually staying down the road at Waddell's house. We're in Georgia now, in T-Bone's basement. He just finished up his man cave down here, and I was at Waddell's house, and he had to get up early, get his kids to school and everything, so T-Bone called me, and he said, why don't you drive on up here, man? I'll cook you breakfast, and I thought that was a great idea. You know, I typically wouldn't drive 35 miles for Cheetos and Dr. Pepper, but it turned out to be a great morning, and we had a good meal together and kicked off our trip to New Mexico, so it was pretty good stuff.
Cool deal. Well, let's do our first question, and we're going to do it by, we're just going to bounce around. We're going to go from the social stream, which is the Twitter and the Facebook accounts. We have an online chat, which is done through Outdoor Hub, so we'll switch back and forth. So you guys send in your questions. We'll go through them, but this is the one that was, this is the first question that was sent in, and I'm not sure exactly when, but it was emailed in either sometime today. But this is Steve from Rochester Hills from Michigan. His question is, there seems to be a huge barrier to entry for those who want to get into the hunting industry. With all the gear and specialized knowledge required to make it safe and worthwhile, what would you recommend to someone trying to break into the hunting scene with a very limited knowledge? So, Steve, let's answer your question.
Go ahead. Tim.
Okay. Well, we get asked that question a lot, and we are very, very fortunate to get to do what we do for a living. We don't take it for granted, and we are very humbled by it, and we're very appreciative of the position that we're in, and we realize that there are a bunch of rednecks that would trade with us or would love to be a part of this too. And if you're of the younger generation, and that's who usually we get those questions from, if you're a teenager or in college and want to do this and have a love for the outdoors, we always tell people to just throw themselves into the industry. Meaning you may not know exactly what area, because there's all kinds of areas in the outdoor industry, but just knowing that you're working in an industry that you're passionate about. I mean, that's exactly the way we all started. Me, Waddell, and Nick alike. I used to work for Mercedes-Benz. I got a degree in heating and air conditioning, and I just knew that I was happy doing anything in the outdoor industry. So I had a passion for archery, and I began working at an archery shop. Took about a $10,000 a year pay cut just to go work, but I don't regret it one bit. Just throw yourself in the industry. Have a good, strong work ethic, a great personality, and as doors open, just take advantage of them, and enjoy the road and where it takes you.
I think a really important thing too, especially for the younger people, is get some kind of a degree that you can fall back on. Either go to a 4-year school or a 2-year school, or do like we did. We both went to a trade school. I'm a barber by trade. I was about a year in school, and it's something that I can always fall back on. And along with that, you can go and get a 4-year degree in something and apply it to something in the hunting industry. But as long as you've got something to fall back on, I think that's a really important thing. T-Bone, when he got out of high school, and same with Waddell, they both went to heating and air conditioning. And T-Bone got all the way through school, and he knew that he didn't want to work on air conditioners. And I can honestly say that the only unit he ever pulled was his own. But it's really important, seriously, to get some kind of a degree that you can fall back on, or get a 2 or 4-year degree in business and apply it to the industry. And I think that's how a lot of people have gotten started. And then you just got to work your way up. It took me about 15 years to get into the position I'm into now, and same with T-Bone. He owned his own shop and worked really hard. I can't really say that it was my goal to be on a TV show, but I just wanted to have some part in the hunting industry, and I just wanted to be able to get to go hunting all the time. And for me, it's just a dream come true. And like T-Bone said, I mean, we're real grounded. We know this thing can end any minute, so we're just lucky as heck to get to do it, and hopefully it'll go on for a long time. But hopefully some of those things that we said there will shed a little light on, kind of what it takes. But immerse yourself in the industry and get out there, let people see your face, and just do all you can to get into it, and it can happen, I think.
Yep, and then time just ticks by, and it doesn't even really seem like you're working because you're passionate about the job that you're doing. So it'll tick-tock. I just want to do a little test actually right now. I'm seeing a lot of comments and stuff on the chat line, but let somebody, just so that we know that you're able to see, but actually throw out a question if you're on the chat right now, and then we'll see if it's coming through, because I know there is some type of delay, and you're looking at two rednecks that are not computer savvy whatsoever. So let's just make sure that something's going on there.
I guess it's working. Must be.
Yeah, and it's starting to roll. Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Go over to the social stream and see what we got going on over there.
Okay.
And we got a ton of questions here on paper that people wrote in earlier.
Yeah. Yep. Look, here's a guy that posted, Brandon Curran, Bama or Bulldogs? Are you kidding me? Bulldogs? What kind of question is that? Well, actually, on January 9th, I'm going to say a Tiger.
There you go.
That's cool. That is cool. I don't know if we can keep up. Have you shot... We got a question here. Let's go to the chat. It says, Axe46, have you shot the Prime Series bow yet? He's referring to the G5 makes a bow called a Prime, and he's asking if I have shot that bow. Yes, I have, and actually it's very, very, very innovative. Naturally, I bleed Hoyt for sure, and they are one of the innovators and leaders in the industry, and have been for over 75 years for sure, but I am very impressed with the G5 Prime bow. It's got a little weight to it. That's a negative, but other than that, the things that they're doing with the cam and the cam lean and the way it tracks, it's very, very forgiving. So I do like that bow. It gets a thumbs up from T-Bone.
I got a good question here, and this is a question for T-Bone. T-Bone's our technical guru over here when it comes to bows. He's one of the best bow wrenches in the business, and I trust him to do all my bow work for me. And one of the guys here, I think it's Grousefly, asks T-Bone, do you like the 2-cam system better than the solo cam, and why? And I think that's a really good question. Like myself, I'm not a really technical guy when it comes to my equipment. I go out there and T-Bone gets my bows set up for me, and I shoot stuff with them. But I've never really been super technical. I like to hunt, and I let T-Bone do my work. So answer that one for him, T-Bone.
Well, Grousefly, do I like the 2-cam system? And I'm assuming that when you say 2-cam system, you're referring to like the cam and a halves. It seems like that most of the industry is split down the middle, 1 cams and 2 or the cam and a half systems. I prefer the cam and a half systems, and the reason why is because you don't have to worry as much with it's a more forgiving system because you don't have to worry about its timing as much, and when the timing or the stretching or the settling of the strings does happen, it doesn't magnify your losses or your misses. With a 1 cam, there is a big misconception. Yeah, you don't have to worry about synchronization of the cams because there is only 1 cam. However, when you have a string that is close to 100 inches long, the percentage of stretch is even more. And when you preload the limbs, there's more mass weight or the more load of the limbs going to that 1 bus cable, so percentage of stretch is more. When you have a 1 cam, the knock travel is a whole lot more when you have string stretch. You don't have to worry about synchronization, but you do have to worry about excessive knock travel. So they're both very forgiving systems, and they're both very efficient systems. However, they're both reaching a certain point, one going one way and one going the other. It's just which way you prefer. To me, I like the cam and a half. I think it's a lot more efficient. I think it builds more kinetic energy, and I think it stays in time and in tune easier and much more efficiently than the 1 cam does. That's just my personal opinion. They are both good systems. I just prefer the cam and a half over the 1 cam.
It's so funny because that's exactly what I was going to say.
Siamese twins.
We got a good question from Gone Fishing at Night, and Gone Fishing at Night wants to know who got the big one this year, Nick or T-Bone. Well, I was really lucky so far. I've killed a lot of nice bucks with my bow, a couple with my gun. But I think T-Bone probably hit the biggest one this year.
Yeah.
And turned out to be one of those deals.
I got the biggest heartbreak.
Turned out to be one of those deals that happens, as a bow hunter. We were in Kansas, and T-Bone's the snort-wheeze king, and he snort-wheezed this buck in from, how far was it?
500, 600 yards
away. Yeah, and that thing came on a string right to him. It was at 30 yards. He and the cameraman had to get synchronized, and it took a few minutes, but finally, he aimed for that lower third on the deer, which is where you want to aim, and the deer ducked, and he hit it high in the shoulder. The deer ran out, bedded down in the CRP. He was able to watch it for a long time, so we spread out in the morning and looked, couldn't find the deer, and just wasn't a fatal hit, and that's just the way that goes sometimes. But we did get a picture of that deer about a week and a half ago. They ended up killing the deer with a rifle in Kansas.
They actually filmed the hunt, so we'll be able to bring all that footage to you. The hunt, it's going to make a great show. Yeah, it's going to be a heartbreak for me, but it's going to be an entertaining show.
And the deer had some points and stuff busted, and it was almost 170. So the deer actually, before it was broken up, when T-Bone hit that deer, was going to be almost 180-inch 5x5. So
yeah, that
was the biggest buck that any of us hit this year, and the biggest heartbreak. But it's going to be okay, man. It's going to be okay.
Hey, I got a question. Let's go back up here. This is one that I want to answer, and I'm trying to find where it was.
Cheetos?
Oh, yeah, here
Cheetos or Doritos?
Yeah, S.J. Perez asks, and I want to ask you guys this question, so let's get some flow back. He asked Cheetos or Doritos, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you even have to ask that? Cheetos, of course. Now, let's see if we can't get a flood of people in the chat. Which do you guys prefer, Cheetos or Doritos? Yeah, Post it up. Let's see it.
We need a good...
let it flow. Let's know what America thinks. Cheetos or Doritos?
Let's go over to the social stream and see if we got anything on there we can go after. Oh, we wanted to throw out too there. If you're on the Outdoor Hub site, if you go to the icons below our pictures, you've got the Bone Collector website, and then you've got the Chevrolet site. Just click on those; they'll take you, to the Bone Collector site or Chevy.com, and you'll be able to look at all the cool, stuff that they've got at Chevy. We've got a lot of cool stuff on BoneCollector.com as well. We've got a brand new store that opened just today in Otto, Illinois. It's the Bone Collector Gear Shed, and we've got everything Bone Collector in there. All kinds of cool stuff for Christmas. Everything in there has a Bone Collector logo on it, and there's nothing else but our Bone Collector products. And you can also see some of the animals that we've killed are mounted in there. I've got a big bear that I shot in Russia that's standing up in there, and just a lot of cool stuff. So if you're going across I-80, headed anywhere in the country, you can stop in at the Gear Shed right there in Ottawa, Illinois, and check out all the cool stuff. So that's a really cool thing we've got going on today is the grand opening. And we posted, there was a group of about 8 guys that showed up there right when it opened this morning, and we posted their picture on Facebook, and so they're our first customers at the Bone Shed.
And I'm seeing my brother-in-law has already posted. He said, Scott, my bro-in-law, is it possible to smoke a Cheeto? Well, yes, it is. A Cheeto will burn, and you can. It makes a good filter and everything. So when you're in the woods and you need kindling for a fire, remember, if you've got a good dry pack of Cheetos, you can start a fire.
That's right. Take Cheetos in your survival kit.
It has been proven.
Because they light easy and they will start a hot fire.
Let's go back to our page right here.
Okay.
And this is a guy. Actually, I don't remember knowing Corey Faulkner, but he's from my hometown, LaGrange, Georgia. T-Bone, with you being from Troup County, Georgia, what is the best time of the rut do you prefer to hunt? What phase side of the moon do you see the most action during the rut? And what is the best tactics for hunting the rut? Well, and he's talking about our hometown here in Troup County, Georgia, and if anybody hunts in Georgia, I mean, I guess they can attest to this, or in the southeast for that matter. We don't really have I guess if you had to pick a peak of the rut, I would say it's probably around the 10th of November. But it seems like it's kind of gray. It starts around the 20th of October, and I even see some rutting activity even into January when the season's going out. But if I had to pick the best days are from like November 6th to about November 20th, which is, so common all across the Midwest, but it's about the same here. November 13th has actually been, if I had to pick one day that I've had the best luck of sightings and stuff, it's been November the 13th in Georgia here. And as far as the moon phase, I mean, I have studied that in the past. I would say, anytime you get a chance to go to the woods, go to the woods, because if it's a rutting type activity, they're going to be chasing them does, whether it's no matter what moon it is. But naturally, it seems like we have better luck if you do it on the front side or the back side of a full moon. But again, I wouldn't let that stop you from going to the woods, because old sick love sick daddy, he'd be out there chasing that tail, and that's when you get him.
That's right.
All right.
Let's see what else we got here. Fish sticks or Cheetos. Seems to be a good theme here today.
We got a lot of food fans. Hey, I like that. My kind of people.
Oh, there's a question here from Kelsey right here. Yep. And she wanted to know, we were at a show in Virginia, and there was a guy there that had a 6-point buck that he brought in. When you go to this Hugh Crittenden's show in Virginia there, they have everybody bring in their deer. They've got all kinds of categories. They've got archery, they've got muzzleloader, they've got rifle, they've got women, they've got men, they've got youth. And there was a guy in there that had a 6-point buck, just a 3x3 buck, and it scored 146 inches.
That's the truth. I mean, see it with our own eyes.
It's the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, just a giant, had huge, 1 point, I guess. Yeah. And big brows and main beams. It was a really heavy deer, but she was asking how big that buck was, and he was 146-inch net 3x3, the biggest thing I've ever seen. And
it's kind of you meet all kinds of people that kill these deer, and they're just local folks, and the epitome of the brotherhood. It's nationwide basically, but this guy was so deserving. He was so humbled and so appreciative, and he'd worked so hard to kill this deer. It was it's good to see him get such a good trophy. I mean, I would take a 146 6-pointer over a 165, 170 10-pointer.
And people don't believe that it could score that much, but I mean the deer. Yeah. It's one of those deer that had a frame like a 190-inch buck. It was just a giant. And, I mean, I was just flabbergasted when I saw the thing. It was so cool. But that's what it ended up scoring, was 146. Yep. What else we got, Bo?
I'm trying to find out. Ohio Mossy Oak. I hunt private and public land, both of which are pressured pretty well. What would be the best way to maximize my odds on such land? Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I think definitely one of the main things you can do is set up trail cameras. Get back in there, a pretty good ways. Depends on how big the piece of property is, but the trail cameras seem to really let you know what's there, and then you can kind of get an inventory. Whether you're on private or public land, you set up your trail cameras, you get a bunch of pictures of deer, and even if you don't kill that deer, it gives you hope that pretty soon that deer may show up. And if you know there's a big one living in there, you're not just walking in there blind hunting, just some other deer. You just always have in your mind that deer is going to come, and that'll help you. And if you can get some kind of a pattern, if you get a couple trail cameras out and you know that he comes by every third day or every fourth day, you might know that buck's going to come by. So that's what I would do. I would get in there with trail cameras. I know a lot of times on public land people aren't honest and they swipe your cameras and stuff like that, but if you can lock one up on a tree or even get back in there as far as you can possibly get and get away from the crowd, I think that's the key to hunting public land. Although there's guys that shoot them every year right off the road, hunting the right time of the year is better than hunting hard sometimes. And even like on your own property, if you hunt a small piece of property, you can get trail camera photos and know that those deer are pretty much nocturnal. But when that last week in October, the first week in November comes and those deer are on their feet, those big bucks are looking for does, I think that's the time to really start hunting hard. A lot of times you get in there too early just because you love to hunt. All you'll do is mess up your deer because they'll be smelling you, they'll know where you're at, they'll know where your stand locations are. And if you can just stay out of there until the time is right, I think you'll have a little bit more success. What do you think, Bone?
I think that's right. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Good.
I mean, it's almost like we got one mind.
I know. We're connected at the hip.
Let's go back to one of our first guys. You pick one. Just put your finger down anywhere.
Okay, how about this one from Justin Guimbolo, or Balot. I don't know. I don't speak French. He's from Louisiana. So, T-Bone, I just got my Hoyt Maxxis 31 set at 73 pounds with a 30-inch draw. I'm only getting 309 feet per second. How do I speed this beast up? I am shooting a gold tip, 55-75 with a 100-grain broadhead. Is there anything I can do?
Wow, only shooting 309 feet a second. Wow, that's blistering. Actually, anytime you're shooting, to me, the hump is 280 feet a second. Once you get over 280 feet a second, you have to basically shoot almost 40, 50, 60 yards to see a difference in your pin gap. So to me, with a 31-inch draw at 73 pounds, that's 30-inch draw. With a 30-inch draw, I mean, you're developing a lot of kinetic energy. You have a really long power stroke, so that's really, really fast. You're not going to see that big of a difference by going to 309 to 330. I would recommend, Justin, that even maybe working on a heavier arrow, even keeping it around that 290, 300, and getting a much more forgiving setup and making that bow even quieter. I mean, it's quiet as it is. That Maxxis is a really quiet bow, but if you did want to speed it up, you can lighten the arrow some. You can go to a lighter broadhead. Not something that I'd recommend doing. Make sure that you have a lot of the weight off the string. But the things that you're doing to speed that bow up, you're going to make it more noisier, quite less forgiving. And we all know, I mean, I know I say it like I'm a
heard it a million times.
Preacher from the South.
I'll say it for you.
Say it.
A slow hit is better than a fast miss anytime.
Exactly.
We're not a big proponent of speed. I mean, we shoot bows that are really forgiving, really accurate, and you hit them where you need to, and you kill them. I mean, it's just.
Yep.
It's less forgiving the faster it gets. So.
You take all that innovation and all this, the Hoyt bows are fast. A lot of the companies are shooting fast bows. And rather than trying to get 330 and 40 foot a second and having a bow that's actually a little loud, a little less forgiving, you keep it around 280, 290 with a heavier arrow, and you're going to have a lot more forgiveness, a lot more accuracy, and a quieter bow. And these are all things that's going to do more for you for killing a deer than even if you had a 330 foot a second bow. So,
and you'll be pulling your arrow out of the dirt after it passes through.
No doubt about it.
That's right.
No doubt about it.
That's a good question, though.
Let's see what we got on the streamline. Here's a good one right here. This is from Stretch S10. How do you carry your rangefinder? Do you use a harness? We use the Bushnell products, and they have a harness system that you have your binos so that they stay tight to your chest, so that if you're crawling or rolling around the ground that stays tight to your chest. I actually just take a hook loop system that actually I bought it at Home Depot. It's just a big S hook with like a carabiner, I guess you could say. And I just hook it on my rangefinder and hook it straight to that strap so that they're on the same strap so I can work like this. But something that I just have got that Bushnell came out with is and it depends on your budget or whatever, but Bushnell makes a binocular now. It's called the Fusion 1600, and I actually just used them for the first time on this mule deer trip, and I am absolutely in love with these things. I mean, naturally, we all may not can get a Bushnell the Fusion style binoculars or whatever, but the rangefinder is built in there. And it goes all the way out to 1,600 yards. And being out west, we was having a fun time shooting the juniper trees and seeing how far they were, 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards. Takes into the ARC, the angle range compensator, which is up and down. It shaves the yards off you need. So knowing that I had everything that I needed in one piece of equipment sure did make life a lot easier, and I didn't have to worry about two of them clinging around like that.
Yeah, and it is a little bit higher priced binocular, but you get a really good set of binoculars and the rangefinder all in one, and it really is comparable to some of the other high dollar glass that you can get. And like T-Bone said, it's got a great coating on it, so you can get takes out some of the glare. It's just a really great binocular, and it's 2-in-1, and kind of takes away having a bunch of stuff hanging around your neck. But I like to use when I have my small rangefinder, I just have a lanyard around my neck, and it hangs about midway, so I can have my bow in my hand, and I can grab that, I can range him, and set it down quick, have my release ready, hook on, and shoot. And that's worked really great for me, just having it right around my neck, and it hangs right in the middle. Doesn't get caught up when you're going to shoot. Doesn't get mixed up with your binoculars, because a lot of times I like to have the lighter weight. When I'm bow hunting, I like to have the lighter weight rangefinder. Even though I have my Fusion binoculars on, and they do have the rangefinder in them, sometimes it's just a little heavy to lift that up and to stay steady to be able to range that deer that's coming in at close range. When you're ranging a little further stuff, you can kind of prop up on your shooting sticks or use both hands. Well, here in bow hunting, you always have your hand on your bow, it seems like, when you're getting ready to range that deer. And I just like the one that's hanging around my neck, and it just comes up fast, and you can set it back down. It doesn't make a lot of noise, and it's pretty easy to use. So that's what I like to use, just a regular old lanyard. You can even use like an old shoestring if you want to. I think that's what Waddell uses.
Yeah. Here's Gone Fishing at Night. T-Bone, you guys ever have someone take your tree stand? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think everybody, if you've had tree stands out in the woods, I think we've all had one taken in some sort of fashion, and I can't stand a thief. I'm telling you, as good as the brotherhood is, and as good as the folks are that are in the hunting, just a part of hunting, there are a few bad eggs out there, and those people just need their hand slapped or their nose dotted, because that's a bunch of junk. That is unless you got that stand on the wrong property.
Yeah, one thing you can do though, they make some big locks that you can put on, and I guess if somebody really wants to get them, they can bring in a cutter and cut those chains and stuff off them. But they make some pretty nice locks that you can wrap around your stands and hook them to the tree, and it makes it a little tougher for the dishonest people to get them. And I think you can get those at your local sporting goods stores, Cabela's, Bass Pros, Dick's, stuff like that.
Here's a good question for you, actually. This is from Colin B. Anthony. Have you ever dropped a camera from a tree stand?
I have never dropped a camera from a tree stand myself, but I have, which brings us to another question. Somebody wanted to know if I've ever ruined a camera. And a few years ago, when I was still...
Tell them how you got your start. Yeah.
Well, I got my start in the industry working at 7J Outfitters in Wyoming. I was a guide there for a lot of years. And then the guys from Realtree wanted to come and hunt with us there, so we let them come, and I was guiding David Blanton. I had an opportunity to show him a bunch of country, and we had a good time. And then I showed him a bunch of my footage. I always carried my video camera with me, videoed the deer and the elk and the turkeys, and videoed my clients and the kids of Jeff and Deb Smith at 7J Outfitters. And David liked my footage, and he asked me to come to work for Realtree, so I did. Well, after working there for 6 or 7 years, they got these brand new. It was right when the new cameras came out with, they didn't take tapes anymore. They took discs, and it was these giant DV cams. And I mean, they're just beautiful cameras. $70,000. The thing's just a big, huge TV camera. And so I was actually hunting with Ben McDonald, former pitcher of the Orioles. And we were in Montana, and this buck comes in and he shoots it. And right when he was getting ready to shoot this deer, this huge rainstorm was rolling in. Well, the people that we stay with up there at the Milk River, the guy knows the country and he knows kind of how things go with the cameras and everything. So he saw the storm coming and he came out there to get us. Well, luckily we had already shot. So Ben and I, we get down out of the tree and we piled all our stuff on the ground, and it was just kind of starting to get dark. So I used his headlights to get all my stuff ready. Ben laid his bow down and his backpack, and I put my backpack there and my arm and my base and my camera and everything. And so I went to put on my light for my camera, but the battery was too dead to run it. So I told Ben, I said, man, we're going to have to run back to the house and get the camera light, get a new battery for this light. And he says, all right, that's cool. He says, well, let's just go look at the deer real quick. I said, all right. It went down only like 40 yards away. So we leave everything laying right in front of the truck, and we walk over, and the guy that was there with us, I don't know what he was thinking, but he just decided he was going to turn his pickup around, put her in drive, and he ran right over all of our stuff. Crushed a $70,000 camera, drove right over Ben's bow, all of our backpacks. Well, luckily the only thing that got broken was the camera, which was insured, thank goodness. So that was kind of my experience with ruining a camera. I guess it was kind of my fault for leaving it there, but I didn't really think that he was going to run over it. I thought maybe he'd see that whole pile of stuff laying there, but it was totaled out, and old Bill wasn't too happy about it. But
Man.
we got it worked out.
Thank good for good insurance. Geico. Hey, I'm getting word in my earphone here that from the production room that we're supposed to have a ticker that's been going across, and we're not sure. We can't see what's going on. We had a ticker supposed to go across the screen here, and we can't see if that's working, if our graphics is working. So the producers in the back room wanted to make sure that you tune into Chevy.com or OutdoorHub.com.
Or BoneCollector.com.
Exactly. Chevy.com, you can check out the new Silverado, the 2012s. A fantastic truck. We have been, I'm not going to say punishing them, but definitely having a good time in them, and they are taking it. And I can attest, Nick, my boy here, could break a anvil with a rubber band, and the Chevy's holding up to it okay, so that's great.
Yeah, we've had our Chevys, these particular units, for about a year now. We both got about 40,000 miles on them, and we've run them all over the country, and they are stout. So if you're thinking about getting a new one, better look at a Silverado. They do you good, that's for sure. I
seem to kind of gravitate towards the food question, so I'm going to answer this one from Chevy Thunder. Chevy Thunder wants to know what flavor is the best Cheetos. Actually, they all are quite tasty. However, if you had to put a gun to my head, Cheetos, and I hope somebody from Frito-Lay is out there actually watching right now, but there was for a short time, about a 6 or 7, 8 month period, they had them. It was called the Cheesy Cheddar Barbecue. It's kind of in a orangish and had a purple burgundy-ish background, and naturally Chester Cheeto was on there. Those were the best ever, and they don't make them anymore. So please, Frito-Lay, kick up production and sprinkle some more barbecue in them cheesy cheddars and bring them this way towards Georgia. That's my favorite, but I know everybody else has their own.
I saw a good one. They're coming in so fast.
I know it.
Oh man, let's see.
Love to see a lot of good archery questions too. Gosh, I wish we had time to answer every one of them.
There was one that I saw about.
Here's another.
What's your thoughts on the CRX 35 bone? Grouse flies, thinking about getting
which one?
The CRX, yep, the CRX 35 from Hoyt.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I'm actually shooting the 31, but naturally a longer axle bow is going to be more forgiving, and I'm very impressed with the 31, even with my draw length. I'm a 29.5-inch draw, and I chose to go with that 31 because of tree stand situations, a little lighter weight, and we hunt out of a lot of ground blinds too, so it makes it nice maneuvering around in a ground blind. But yeah, a 35. If you're over, say, 28.5-inch, 29-inch draw length, definitely go with that 35-inch axle to axle. You'll be very, very pleased with the forgiveness of it.
There's a question here from, I guess, a question from Chevy Thunder, wanting to know what our favorite time of the year, early season, the rut, or late season. And for me, that just kind of depends on where you're hunting. You know, there's so many different venues. That's the great thing about whitetail hunting. Everywhere you go is a little bit different. The terrain's different. The animals act different. Like down here in the southeast where T-Bone lives, these deer are, they're on pins and needles. They're the toughest deer there are to hunt. And I think a lot of these guys that hunt in this part of the country are some of the best hunters there are. Even though they may not have killed some of the biggest bucks in the world, these guys are really good hunters, and they're good at what they do hunting in this area. When it comes to early season hunting, I think hunting out west is the best. That's the best time to hunt out west. Your bucks are in bachelor groups. They're coming to food sources like alfalfa and wheat fields. Typically, the bucks are running together. It gives you a good chance of shooting a velvet buck, and they're really, really visible. So you can get up on a high point in the mornings. You can see where they go in, and then you get down there and you set up and hopefully get them coming out at night. But the great thing is if you don't spook these deer, that you can see them night after night after night, and you can keep hunting the same buck until you get him killed. A lot of times, like I said, if you don't spook them, they're going to come back out again. And it's just really fun that time of year to see all those bucks because they're super visible. A lot of times they're in velvet. They don't want to hurt their velvet. And just, really great. It's a little bit tougher in the Midwest in early season because there's so many leaves on the trees. The deer aren't as visible. They're a lot more nocturnal. And so if you're going to hunt the Midwest, for me, my favorite time to hunt there is late October, first week in November. The bucks are on their feet. They're checking scrapes. They're bumping doe groups, looking for those first does to come into estrus. And it just gives you a really good chance at seeing those big bucks moving, a little more up in the morning, middle of the day. And that's your best opportunity, in my mind, to kill one of those big bucks with your bow. Now, going into the late season, obviously, your places like Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, it starts to get real cold. South Dakota, same thing. It starts to get real cold. And these deer really start hitting these food sources. And I think a lot of people have seen over the years on TV, people like the Kiskis and the Lakoskis and Gabe Adair from Whitetail Properties. These guys have these farms, but they leave a lot of food for these deer. And there's only one thing that these deer are looking for at this time of year. The breeding season's done. They're looking for fuel, looking to keep warm, and there's only one way to do that, and that's good food. So those late season food sources are the best way to kill those deer late season. And you may have a buck that you haven't seen all season long. He may be on your hit list. You may have gotten a lot of camera, photos of him. He may have been nocturnal for most of the year. You may have gotten a glimpse of him, during the rut, and he's one on your target list. I can just about guarantee you when the weather gets cold, he's going to come to that food source. So, it just kind of depends on where you live and how you want to hunt. But there's different areas of the country are different for different times of the year. So out west, I like early season. Midwest, I like the middle of the rut, and then for the real late season, hunting over those food sources is a great way to kill a big buck.
Yep, I got a question here. Good answer, Nick. Very, very, very informative.
Thank you, T-Bone.
You're welcome, man. I've lost the question, but I do remember it. S.J. Perez was asking. He said that he and here we are. We film, and I think anyone who runs a camera has a second guy and knows the adds a lot of work to the hunting. It's not easy. That's why I'm asking, do you guys prefer to hunt primarily from the ground or tree stand? And when you're bow hunting, we kind of prefer to be in a tree just because of visibility, and it kind of gives you 360 degrees. But, there's not always that perfect tree where you need to be, where the deer are traveling. So lately, as of the last 4 or 5 years, ground blinds have come very, very popular, and I'm glad of that. I like that because it's really, really safe. It's great to buddy hunt that way. It's a good way to get kids, women, people who are a little on the fidgety side out into the woods. I did mention already, but it is safe. Helps on scent. You don't have to worry about the thermals as quite as much, and you do have to give up some because you don't have quite as bit of visibility. You better be pretty sure where you're pinpointing where the deer is going to come out. But it's fantastic for turkey hunting. We use them a lot, so I'd say it's probably. I mean, it just depends on what state, but I'd say it's probably 35% ground blind. Wouldn't you say?
Yep.
35%.
I've had a lot of luck in the last couple of years using a ground blind. I think the key when whitetail hunting is to really brush it in good. Get it next to something that's already been there, like a down tree or a log jam or something, and get it brushed in good, and they don't even notice it. And like T-Bone, he's a little bit bigger guy, and a lot of people ask, how do you get up into a tree and being a bigger fella? Well, he's got a little bit of an advantage because when those deer come by and they look up in the tree, they say, surely that can't be a man.
That is one heck of a squirrel's nest.
So he's got a little bit of an advantage that way, but ground blinds, if you're in an area where you don't have big enough trees to get into, a ground blind can be really effective. The key is just getting it there and getting it brushed in and let them get a little bit used to it. And if you can't get it in early, just cover it up as much as you can with brush and grass and trees and try to get it next to something that's been there for a while because a lot of times they'll overlook it. And we've just had a lot of success shooting stuff. We use the Ameristep ground blinds. The Bone Collector blind is a really good stand or a really good blind for killing out of. It's got big windows to shoot out of and good concealment. The blind that I like to film out of because it has a more open front is the Intimidator blind.
And that new Carnivore.
Yeah, the new Carnivore. The Carnivore's got an open front and the back has normal windows in it, so you can use it from either side. But we've just had a lot of luck. I've shot antelope, turkeys, deer, all kinds of stuff out of these blinds, and they really do work well. And if you keep them fairly zipped up, they will hold your scent in fairly well. The more you keep it zipped up, the better off you are, but it's pretty tough to fool a deer's nose, and it's hard to do. But if you keep it zipped up, you have a little bit better chance. So those ground blinds are really good.
Gone Fishing at Night asks, where's your teeth at? We miss them. Well, those only come out on Sundays, and this time of year we give it the week off, so we only wear them when we go to church on Sundays. And then here's another one. GS Toll, another question. It has been said that if a deer blows at you, your day is done. How accurate is this? Well, we don't ever want to hear that sound, but I can tell you this. There's been a bunch of slickheads in the state of Georgia or all over the southeast that has blown, and that's been the last time they ever blown. I fed them an eastern shaft, and we ended all that. So no, that is not a sound that you want to hear, but nonetheless, usually if you'll stay still, or other deer aren't alerted or whatever, sometimes it is the day's done, or it depends on what time of the day they do that. But for the most part, no, just hang in there tight, because the next group of deer will come through there, and you can stab one of them too, or to do your best to feed her an arrow.
I just saw a question on here that said, how do I feel, do you think permanent box blinds affect deer? I don't think they affect them all. They might affect them.
Right when you put them up.
Yep, and I think the best time to do that is early spring or summer. Get them in there, and after you get them put in, get your food plots in, or wherever you're hunting. If you're hunting over big fields and stuff like that where you don't have food, like CRP and in trees, I don't think there's any problem at all. I don't think the deer bother them one bit. In fact, I know a lot of people nowadays that are using blinds, the elevated box blinds, and they're actually killing deer with their bows out of them. So yep. I think they're a really great setup. If you can afford to put one on your farm, it's a really great tool, that's for sure. It kind of holds your scent in too, some of these new plastic big blinds.
Should we bring out our first guest? We're a little over halfway. I think we should bring out our first guest, don't you think?
Sure.
Hold on a minute.
Sure.
He's got his own theme music. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the inaugural Chevy Chat, and we want to bring out our first guest and bring him to the Nick and T-Bone and Chevy stage. And so here we are. Without further ado, our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Ferlin, Merlin, and Marvin. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, man. That's
okay.
Funny.
Yeah, to some people it might be.
Yep. The things you get when you give two rednecks a platform.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Coming in so fast. Hey,
I saw one that said something about UV brighteners. Do we wash our clothes with stuff that take out UV brighteners? I really don't worry about that stuff. I feel like when you got two guys in a tree, all the gear, stuff like that, I think the last thing they're going to do is look up and, they may see the sun bouncing off you, but I think the camouflage that we're using, the real tree camouflage and the scent blocker stuff, doesn't seem to be too shiny, and I just really don't worry about that kind of stuff. Most of the things I worry about are the direction of the wind. There's nothing that works better than playing the wind, so I don't know. And if you can get into a tree with cover, that's good too. I know a lot of times of the year the leaves fall off the trees and there's not a lot of cover, but one of the things I think is a good tip is if you're hunting by yourself without a camera person, you know which way your deer typically going to come from. So an important thing is to get on the back side of your tree rather than sitting on the front side of your tree. It lets you hide behind the tree. You have to stand a little bit more. You can also turn and kind of sit backwards with your legs wrapped around the tree and just peek around the tree. If you see a deer coming, you back off your tree and then you wait and get ready. And if you have to come around the tree, you can, but it gives you a little bit extra cover for when those deer are coming, especially in areas where the deer get pressured really heavy, like in the southeast and in the east. Places like Pennsylvania, they have over 1 million hunters. There's a lot of people in the woods, and the deer literally walk through the woods looking up in the air. So if you can get on the back side of the tree, I think that makes a huge difference, especially when you're by yourself hunting.
I'm seeing a lot of comments throughout the chat talking about, play the wind, and then other guys are saying scent blocker. And I want to add a little bit to that. We do endorse scent blocker, and we do believe in scent blocker heavily. It is a great tool that has been added to our arsenal over the last over the last 10 or 15 years. But to say that scent blocker is 100% foolproof, it's not. You still have to play the wind. Playing the wind is the most important thing. The only thing that what we like to tell folks is the scent blocker does is it takes you from, if we had a stink factor from 1 to 10, and let's just say that you pooped your pants and you was working at a diesel factory and you went straight to the woods.
Again.
Yeah, again. You pooped your pants again. Then you're gonna smell like a 10. You're gonna stink like a 10. And naturally, you're going to be offensive to the deer. Well, by using the scent blocker and the Robinson Laboratory products to help contain human scent, what you're doing is taking your stink factor from a 10 all the way down to a 3 or a 4, so that when those deer do walk by, they say, well, this is not as offensive. This human came by here a couple days ago, or he's not right on top of me. He's 300 yards down. He's not 30 yards from me. So all these things make you not as offensive. So if you can get past that first, alpha doe that comes out into a food plot, we all know how the first does come out. And it seems like to me, through all my years of hunting or whatever, once you get the first does or does to come by, it's like their guard goes down. It's like the bucks don't even pay attention. They're not sniffing or other deer. Once you get 3 or 4 deer in your food plot or in the field or whatever, they walk to the edge of the field, see that Sally's out there wearing out the corn or the food plot that you got planted, and they just throw caution to the wind and they come on out. So if you can fool that first doe or so that comes out, we all know, especially hunting in Georgia, that the deer doesn't usually move till the last 15 or 20 minutes. So every second counts. If we can get those deer out there, it's critical that we get more deer out by the time it gets dark. So the scent blocker and the scent blocker products and all the sprays and soaps and detergents for our clothes, they really, really do work. Don't forget the wind, but they really do help.
Yep, that's cool. I got to give a shout out to my neighbor Wendell. He's got a little shed next door. He's got it all finished out, and he wrote me and said he's got the cooler full when I get home, so I'll be over, Wendell. A scary hunting moment. I see somebody said, have you ever had a scary hunting moment from the tree stand? That's Buckmaster 0. T-Bone's got a little bit of a scary moment. I think you ought to tell him a little about that moment you had in Kansas with old SB.
Yep. Scary moment.
The short version.
I had a scary moment actually in Kansas. It was the first year hunting Kansas 4 years ago, November 3rd, 4th, peak, just prime time, and I'm geeked up. I'm sitting there just burning the CRP up, waiting for a deer to pop up. And if you follow us, you know that a cameraman has to be right over our shoulder. He's 2 or 3 foot above us, and Stephen Bullware's right over the top of me, and he's a good guy, great personality, always in a good mood. And he leans down to me. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and he leans down to me and says, "Hey, T-Bone," he goes, "Man, I gotta go." And we've all been through that. You have a pain hit you. Waffle House starts pushing a little early, so you just grin and bear it. You bite down on that bottom lip and you try to weed through and make it to 10:30, 11 o'clock. And you get down there and kill that grizz. Well, I just said, yeah, man, me too. Just hang in there. We'll be back to camp in a couple hours, man. We'll take care of business. And about 10 minutes later went by, and he leaned down to me and he says, "T-Bone," he goes, I gotta go. And when I look at him this time, I can see white all the way around his eyes, beads of sweat popping out on his forehead, and I'm like, whoa, we getting serious now. I mean, he's touching cotton. He's about ready to go. So anyway, I'm like, oh well. So I start taking off my safety vest and hanging up my bow, and what's got to happen is I got to climb down so that he can get down, and I figure he's going to go over in the bushes and kill a grizz, and then we'll get back up in the stand. Well, he says, "No, dude, you don't understand. I got to go. I can't move." And I'm like, well, I ain't the smartest knife in the drawer, the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I know how gravity works, and if he's gonna kill a grizz up here and I'm below him, that ain't good for old T-Bone. So I'm like, what do you plan on doing? It's windy in Kansas, and I'm on the one side of the tree, and he goes, I've been thinking. And cameraman, they've got every little gadget in their fanny pack. He had Leatherman tools and batteries and dental floss, all kinds of stuff, and he's digging around in his backpack, and he pulls out a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. And I can tell you this, I don't know if them Ziploc products are as good as they say they are on TV, but I was praying that this one was going to be. So anyway, he said, if you'll scooch over, I'll go one way and you go the other, and I believe I can get this done. So I'm staring out into the CRP, and I'm hearing zippers go down and buttons pop over my right shoulder, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So we all got cell phones. So I took my cell phone up and I held it up and I turned around and he had none the wiser. All I could see was the moon, and I got me a Kodak moment. Took a picture of it. So his initials are Stephen Bulware, which is SB. Which when we got back to camp, his new initials are SB, which stands for bag. Use your imagination. This is a family show. But anyway, he was so proud of it. Little bitty guy had always been called Pee Wee, and he was so happy. I'm like, why are you happy about that nickname? He goes, man, I've been called Pee Wee all my life, and now I got me a new nickname. And I'm proud to say, the end of this story, I'm proud to say that Ziploc bag held every morsel, and he made it in there. The boy has talent.
That's right.
Thank goodness.
Right. But the next day, the funny part was the next day they got in the stand, and again Stephen goes, T-Bone. And T-Bone thought, oh, no, not again. He looks up at Stephen, and Stephen's got the bag. He forgot to take it out of his backpack from the day before.
That's a true story. That's a true story. And I still got the picture. Here, let me show you.
So I see a question here from Gone Fishing at Night that asks if we've ever hunted with dogs and how do we feel about it. I've never hunted with dogs. I know it's kind of some controversy in different places, but I think it's great. Anything you can do to get in the woods, whether you hunt with dogs, whether you hunt with a crossbow, even people that hunt high fences. If it's legal, I'm for it. We don't hunt high fences ourselves and film them on TV, but I know there's a call for it. The guys that are doing that kind of stuff are buying camo, they're buying guns, they're buying licenses, they're putting money into the hunting industry and into conservation, and any kind of hunting that you can do, I think is great. I know hunting with dogs in the South is a huge tradition. A lot of people want it to go away, but a lot of people, that's how they do it, and I think they have every right to do it, just like anybody shooting a bow or a gun or a crossbow has to do. So I'm not against dog hunting at all. What do you think, Bone?
Me neither. Heck no. If they open up a wrist rocket season, we're all for it. So naturally it may not be the way you choose to hunt, but nonetheless we're not going to condone someone for choosing that. Man, whether you're a squirrel hunter, a quail hunter, running deer with dogs, as long as it's legal. And as long as it's ethical, hey, we're all for it, man. I'm telling you, stack them up like cordwood, because that's what it's all about. Our hunting heritage, and I know we sound redundant, but the brotherhood. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Let's get one more from the page, man. I feel kind of drawn to these people because they got on the bus quick.
Okay. That's a food question. You want to do one?
Whatever you want, man.
Okay, here. This is a good question for you, T-Bone. Chris Ross from Martinsville, Indiana, was wondering, why do you guys use kisser buttons? I've always been told that they're like training wheels since they are not a real anchor point. Also, what do you think about feathers compared to vanes? I think the kisser button's a really, really good question.
Yeah, it is. The question's about a kisser button. And a lot of people don't use them because they feel like, well, I've graduated. I'm a beginning archer. I don't need the kisser button. Well, I personally, I've shot for many years, and for the last 15 years, I've used the kisser button, and even in tournaments, a lot of people don't put them on their tournament bows. Even I downsize it quite a bit, but it's another place to hang your hat. And if you're weighing out pros and cons, something that's going to make you more accurate is a more positive anchor point. So with that, you build your anchor point 4 steps at a time. You have your anchor on your face, and that's going to be the most important one. Is you anchor firmly on the side of your face, whether you're a finger shooter or you're with a release. Most people don't shoot kisser buttons with fingers, but release shooter does. And then you go to the corner of your mouth. The string usually tracks right up the corner of your mouth to the tip of your nose. Tip of your nose is the third anchor point. And then naturally the peep sight, which is your rear sight, just like on a rifle. Well, the kisser button is just a bump that's on the string that gives you a place to feel in the corner of your mouth. So that no matter what angle you're in, whether you got a face mask on or if you're shooting uphill, downhill, in a tree stand, in awkward positions, you know that when that kisser button's there, it's just another place to hang your hat. It gives you a more positive anchor point. I highly, highly recommend them. It does add a little bit of weight to the string. We're talking anywhere from 3 to 6 grains, but in the big scheme of things, it's going to slow you down at the most 2 feet per second. And once again, a slow hit is better than a fast miss. It's well worth the 2 feet per second to gain that accuracy and to gain that consistency. And the second part of that question is what do you think about feathers compared to vanes? Feathers, again, there's pros and cons to both. Vanes are more durable. Vanes are more waterproof. Vanes are quieter in flight. Feathers do seem to steer an arrow better. and they are lighter, so it is a little faster. But they don't stand up to weather, and they are noisier in flight. So, there's a trade-off there. You just have to weigh out which is your best preference. I will say this. The new vanes made by NAP, which is New Archery Products, which is the quick spins, they have a rear airfoil on the end of them, on the back side of them, which gives you 300% rotation, which is the equivalent, if not even better than, like a 4-degree offset on a right helical feather. So the vanes have come a long ways as far as being able to steer broadheads and stuff.
And they definitely, those deer can hear those arrows coming, so you want to get them as quiet as you can. And I think it makes a big difference shooting vanes and feathers. Because if you're shooting deer at 30 and 40 yards, even further out, and they can. If you've ever stood downrange and heard those arrows coming, they are loud and they can get out of the way. Trust me.
I've had I can't. There's pros and cons to both. I just think if you're going to check the list off, I think there's more pros to shooting a vane than the feather. But hey, the feathers is what got us started, and them Indians have killed a lot of critters with them. So, and they are accurate. So, there's a lot of good things about them too.
Somebody asked here, they want to know if they say, you guys seem to be good friends, but does it ever get difficult being around the same crew for months on end? Well, I can honestly say that hanging with the guys we hang with, it's a joy to be around these guys. We're all kind of upbeat personalities. We don't let the petty things, get to us, and I think we all kind of have the same personality. So it is really fun being around T-Bone and Michael all the time. We never have fights. Of course, you have little arguments, stuff like that, football teams and stuff like that. But
if you would just say I was right all the time, we'd never have arguments.
But no, we really get along good, and it's not a put on. We're good friends, and T-Bone and I spend more time together probably than we do with our own families. So
we are family, buddy.
You gotta be able to get along with the guys you're hanging with, otherwise it isn't going to work out. So our crew's really tight, and we've got a really good bunch of guys with good attitudes and upbeat personalities, so it makes it pretty nice.
Yeah, we Bucks and Beards 270. Hey guys, I'm 14 years old. I'm interested in getting started in competitive archery. Any tips? Well, I say go do it. A lot of people think, well, I've got a hunting bow. I can't take that bow to go to a tournament. Well, they have a class for you. They have a beginners division. They even have a fun round, so you can go out there and shoot the course. It's the most fun. Anybody that I've ever introduced into 3D archery, taking them to it, have been hooked like a fish. I can't think of one time that someone has went and said they had a bad time, they'd never do it again. Never. So I really encourage you. It's something that you can shoot your bow. You're doing nothing but gaining confidence, and you're getting better for when hunting season comes around. Not to mention you're having a good time with all your buddies. It's like going out there and shooting 20 or 30 critters and never having to field dress one and get your hands bloody. And it's a great time. It's not high pressured. When everybody says competitive archery, they think 100 guys in white suits standing out there on the line. Well, it's not that at all. It's like a fun round of golf with your buddies. You take 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys in a group, and you go out through the woods and you have a good time shooting at critters. And at the end of the day, you add your score up, and if you shot pretty good, then you get a trophy. So it's a great way.
It all boils down to having a good time. Time spent with friends and family and camaraderie, and the icing on the cake, just like hunting, is winning a trophy or shooting that big buck. So just get out there and do it. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot better than golf. There was a question there about. What was that one?
Oh, this guy right here has a question. He says, "You guys are the greatest. Duels." I don't know who that is, but with a name like Duels, he's got to be a good guy, doesn't he?
Somebody asked, what's the longest shot you've ever made? My longest, the 2 longest shots I've ever made was I shot a deer at 63 yards and I shot an elk at 64 yards. Now, that's not some kind of shot that I'll take all the time. Those animals, you have to read their body language. I would never shoot that far at an animal that was alert and on edge. A lot of times you make shots like that, and those critters can be completely gone or have moved the whole body length by the time the arrow gets there. So on a shot like that, definitely got to shoot at an animal that's relaxed, maybe even feeding, or doesn't have any idea that you're in the country. So those are my 2 longest. What's your longest shot?
64, actually.
64?
Yeah, and 64 and a half and 65.
Okay.
What was yours again? I forget.
Just under that.
No, it was 64 yards with a doe. Actually, kind of a funny story. I at my archery shop was kind of set off out in the country, and deer kept coming up eating out of a water oak tree out of the backyard. It was in the city limits there, and I kind of slipped behind the shop and shot one at 64 yards. So Slickhead fell wrath to the old Easton.
Was that with the old Sadie, the old bear whitetail hunter?
No, because that can't count as one shot because that's par 2 for her. 64 yards takes 2 shots with Sadie.
The thing was fast, though. It shot almost 100 feet per second. So.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't outrun it, that's for sure. Let's get us another one here.
We're just about done. We got about a minute left, it looks like.
Yeah. Gosh, this has been great. We got, between the social stream, well, just on the chat, we've got 100 folks, not counting the social stream. So, gosh, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Stretch S10 says, what arrows do you use? Well, we actually shoot the Beeman and the Eastons, and I'm a huge fan of the Easton ACCs. I really love the fact that the aluminum is incorporated with the carbon. The carbon has the strength. The carbon is on the lighter side with the strength, but the aluminum is just so consistent. So I'm a huge fan of the ACCs for a lot of reasons, and have been for years. And I'm really pleased with the arrow setup that I have right now. And actually, Nick and Michael are shooting the same setup this year too.
Great setup. Let's do one more, and then I guess it's about time to say
adios.
Sayonara.
All right. Keeps wanting to... And we're getting all kinds of marriage proposals and stuff too.
Oh, man.
I guess the questions. Something about a beaver.
Yeah. Do beavers scare deer out of the woods?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can't really answer that one. How many grains per inch do you shoot, Bo?
Grains per inch. Question was, how many grains per inch do I shoot? Well, the arrow that I shoot actually weighs like 9.4 grains per inch, but I've built a little heavier insert in there, so I'm running about 13.6 FOC, which is front of center balance, and my total arrow weight is 502 grains, but if you go just by the shaft that I'm shooting, it's 9.4 grains per inch, but the arrow's heavier than that. My broadhead and insert total weigh over 200 grains, so kind of heavy on the front end.
There's somebody here that wants to get into traditional archery, and Brandon Curran, and he wants to know about a Hoyt recommendation. What do you think, Bone? The game getter?
What's that, for a recurve?
For traditional archery.
Yeah, I like that game getter. And then, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the one that...
The Fred Eichler bow.
Yeah, the Fred Eichler Signature Series is really nice. Fred was nice enough to send us a couple of those, and a few squirrels in the backyard have felt the wrath from that thing.
Somebody wants to know why I can't commit to a facial hairstyle. It's because I don't like to shave, that's why.
Keep you guessing, man. Keep you guessing.
That's because there's so many wanted signs out there, and if I keep with the same look, they'll catch me that way.
That's right. Haven't you ever seen The Bourne Identity?
I got to keep from going to jail, so...
When you guys come into Western Colorado, actually, Nick will be there very soon. He's going to hunt before Christmas there.
Yep, Eastern Colorado, actually. We hunted this year around Craig up in northwest Colorado and shot a really nice antelope with my muzzleloader there. And then we went up just outside of Fort Collins with the guys from Atkinson Expeditions. And they put on a great hunt. We shot, Edwin, Waddell, and I each shot an elk and an antelope. And I'm actually going... on the 18th, I'm taking off going to Eastern Colorado to try to shoot a big mule deer with my bow. So we've done some hunting in Colorado this year, and this was my first year to hunt Colorado. For myself, I filmed there a few times and lived in Denver for a short time, but Colorado's been good to me so far, and I got one more hunt to go there. It's going to be fun. Hopefully kill a big mule deer with my bow.
Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. We really appreciate everybody tuning in. Had a great response. We hope to do this, quite a bit more. It's been fun to me.
Yeah.
We apologize about the graphics and the ticker tape. We were supposed to have some information coming across the bottom, but apparently it's not working. So we're going to tell you, go to Chevy.com, OutdoorHub.com, and naturally don't forget about BoneCollector.com to learn everything about the outdoors, the new Chevy trucks, and then Outdoor Hub is a great resource for everything outdoors. So make sure that you tune into those websites. Stay in touch with us. We got a lot of great shows coming your way. I want to make sure that we say thank you to our special guest, for the inaugural Outdoor Hub Chevy Chat. And there he is, Mr. Furlan, the Magical Musician.
Theme music, please.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, too, make sure you go to the Facebook pages for Chevy Silverado, Outdoor Hub. We've got a bone collector page. T-Bone's got one. I've got one myself. So go there, like those, follow us on Twitter. We really appreciate everybody tuning in, and hopefully we'll get to do this again.
Yep.
And I guess we'll see you next time. So get ready, Wendell. I'm coming home in a few days, so I'm going to come over there and see the old hog barn.
Appreciate you guys.
All
Y'all
right.
be good.
Take care. Chevy.com.